Do you think this war is the beginning of the end of Donald Trump?
Of course it's the end. Of course.
Tucker Carlson, who campaigned for Donald Trump, spoke at the Republican National Convention and became one of the biggest voices in the MAGA movement, is now saying that Trump's presidency is effectively over and that the MAGA movement has reached its end. Those are some remarkable words coming from someone who once stood firmly behind Trump. Carlson made these comments during an interview with Sky News. Let's take a look at what he had to say together.
Our system is broken in the most basic sense. People who tell the truth are punished. People who lie and kill are rewarded.
I wonder, Tucker, where this leaves the future of the MAGA movement. I mean,
the future of the MAGA. Well, that's over. There's no future of the MAGA movement. Obviously, we're done.
This war caused the end.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, what is the MAGA movement? Trump has defined it as whatever he wants. Well, that's not a movement. That's a tick. That's a preference. It's like, what do I feel like having for breakfast this morning? Well, today it's, the pancake movement. It'll be Eggs Benedict movement tomorrow. Like, it's not a movement. It's just like it's a desire.
But you believed in it.
Well, I never understood what it was. No, I never believed in MAGA. I believe in making America great again. I certainly believe in its literal definition. But its operational definition was never clear. What I believe in is putting your country first. If you're leading your country, of course, its concerns are at the top of your list of concerns, in the same way that your children's concerns are more important, your children's needs are more important to you as a parent than your neighbor's kids' needs and concerns. You're the parent. That's nature. Again, that's just natural. There's nothing crazy or fascistic about that. In fact, any other form of government is crazy and fascistic. Every other form of government is tyranny. That's the only legitimate form of government where the leaders put, not to the exclusion of everyone else's concerns, like you don't have to hate your neighbor's kids to love your own. You can love all kids. But if it comes down to it, you put your kids first because you're their parent. And that same worldview has to be the way the U.S. government operates in order to be legitimate. And that's what America First means. And so I will never stop believing that. I think every other American believes that too. The phrase America First scares people because it's like Nazi or something, but like in real life, there's no other way to run a government. And I still believe that. And this war was the most obvious betrayal of that. We didn't go to war to protect our own interests. We went to war to serve Israel's interests. They've said that out loud. So this is not a conspiracy theory. That's contemptible. That's wrong.
So whenever you start thinking, what, Tucker Carlson might actually have a point here. I don't usually agree with him, but this time he seems to be making sense. He suddenly says something completely wild. Let's keep watching a little more, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Some good people there for sure, some smart, well-meaning people, but there weren't a ton of people who were willing to march in there and say, this is nuts, man. This is nuts, and you're being sold a story that's not true. And not hate against Israel. Like, I understand they've got a different perspective from ours. They have different goals from ours because they're a different country. But if you follow this path, you will be entrapped. This is a trap. I did tell him that. He didn't like it at all. But it was true. And it wasn't just true. It was obviously true.
Well, the person who did make the case was Benjamin Netanyahu. And he, advocated for this. But he hasn't advocated just to Donald Trump for 25 years. For 30 years, he's been advocating to president after president. I mean, why Trump?
You're absolutely right. The core premise of your question is undeniable. Many presidents have faced this pressure. Only Trump caved. That's just a fact. So as I said, I don't know why. There are, famous...
he wasn't hypnotized. He just swallowed it.
He may have been hypnotized. That's real. People are absolutely hypnotized. I know a lot of people have been hypnotized. I have been hypnotized.
So here's the insane Tucker Carlson when you're like,
So this is where Tucker Carlson goes completely off the rails. Just when you start thinking maybe he's actually making a good point, he follows it up with something absolutely unbelievable. I'll come back to this later because I think it's all part of Tucker Carlson's strategy for what comes after the MAGA era.
I think maybe he's on to something. Then he says insane stuff like this. I'll come back to this later because I think this is all part of Tucker Carlson's plan going forward for the post-MAGA era.
Of course, people are hypnotized all the time.
But on an issue
like this... What do you think love is?
But on an issue like this?
Of course. We're all hypnotized from time to time. Words have power. Words change reality.
But this is a president who...
We hypnotize ourselves all the time.
But you supported him. So many like...
I didn't just support him. I campaigned for him.
I was, by the way, and we'll talk about this, I was at the RNC when you spoke.
No way.
I was. And you spoke and, you were convincing and compelling.
Well, I had no notes. I meant it.
But to come out, to campaign for him, to support him in the way that you did, and then for him to campaign on a no war, no forever wars, and for it to end up like this.
No one was as shocked as I was.
Yeah.
So my first of all, I would just say is I try to force myself to say always, I was wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of other things, including the Iraq War, so I am capable of being not just wrong, but very embarrassingly wrong. So that's just a fact. Why was I wrong? It's not like I didn't know Trump had flaws. I know Trump intimately. I know Trump really, really well, and I've always liked him, but I know what he's like. And so I was eyes wide open in some ways. But my calculation was, and it seemed obvious, that from my perspective, what the country needs is a choice. And the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are identical in their core assumptions about the economy and foreign policy, which is what matters. And I thought Trump was an option.
Are you talking to Trump at the moment?
No.
You haven't spoken to him since?
I've not. February 28th. I spoke to him the 27th. I haven't talked to him since. I don't hate him. I feel sorry for him. What he did is a catastrophe. He knew it would be. He did it anyways.
Tucker Carlson wants you to feel sorry for Donald Trump. He says Trump was hypnotized, and I think this is going to become the new game plan for MAGA commentators moving forward. Their argument will be that Trump was simply too good, that he genuinely wanted to do what was best for the American people, but somehow he was hypnotized and lost control. They'll claim he couldn't stand up to the so-called deep state, Benjamin Netanyahu, or all of these powerful forces working behind the scenes. The message will be that even someone as powerful as Donald Trump couldn't overcome them. I believe that's the path Tucker Carlson is going to take as he tries to keep his audience in the post-MAGA era. He'll keep saying he still supports Trump, while also admitting that all of these terrible things happened, then explaining them away by claiming Trump wasn't really in control because he was hypnotized.
And he's blaming his failures on Netanyahu, which is predictable. And well-deserved. I'm not mad about it, and I think Netanyahu's obviously a criminal, and I don't feel sympathy for him after all the innocents he's murdered, but I do feel sympathy for Israel just because there are a lot of nice people in Israel, and they don't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. And as I said, I think this is, I want to be honest enough to admit, I think this is an actually threatening, not a fake theatrical threatening, but actually threatening moment for Israel. So I feel bad about that. But all I know is what I saw. Trump was not enthusiastic about doing this. He knew the risks. He thought the risks were real. He told me that. And he did it anyway. And he did it against the advice of his own intelligence agencies and against the wishes and maybe in some mild cases the advice of his own advisors. So why did he do that? At whose behest did he do that? He wasn't enthusiastic about it. He'd said for 10 years he wasn't going to do it. He thought it was a bad idea. He campaigned against regime change wars in the Middle East. A lot. Not just parenthetically, but it was a central position. And it, so far as I could tell, having talked to him about it many, many, many times, I think it was heartfelt.
And I guess another US president dragged into a war in the Middle East that they say they either didn't want to start or move away from. I mean, for me, it's, quite personal what happened in Afghanistan with Joe Biden and the shambolic way that they withdrew. And that, for me, was a defining moment for Joe Biden's presidency. It felt like the beginning of the end of his presidency. Do you think this war is the beginning of the end of Donald Trump?
Of course it's the end. Of course it's the end. And I said this to him in February. I said what he already knew.
But do you think the lines are being drawn right now? Because we're seeing a lot of the vice president now coming out, defending this deal. He said fundamentally it was worth it. That's what he said yesterday or the day before to Megyn Kelly. And
what was worth it? The deal?
The war, the deal, it was worth it.
Well, what are you going to say? It wasn't worth it. All these Americans died. It cost us tens, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars and will cost more going forward. So, it's a tough pill to say it wasn't worth it. I mean, this was all pointless. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to say that. No one wants to believe that. So I certainly give him a pass on that. But no, JD, I think the vice president has been very clear about his views. I don't think there's any world in which President J.D. Vance would have done this. I mean, there's literally no chance of that, I think. But he's the vice president. So one of his jobs is to support the president. And he's done, I think, a very good job of that. It's tough. Who'd want that assignment? But from what I know of J.D. Vance, and I know J.D. Vance, was a really decent man, I will just say that. And I know that to be true. His view is, rather than, throwing up your hands and saying, I can't deal with this, I'm out, you violated my principles. His view is, if you're in a position of authority, you do your best to make the best of a bad situation. And he has done that.
As you can see, Tucker Carlson clearly believes that J.D. Vance is the future. He presents Vance as a good man, but I don't see it that way at all. Does anyone actually believe that? I see J.D. Vance as a political opportunist who will say or do whatever helps him get closer to the presidency. But when it comes to Tucker Carlson's own role in supporting Donald Trump, I have to ask, was Tucker Carlson simply wrong? Or is something else going on here? On one hand, He claims he never really understood what MAGA was and says it became whatever Donald Trump wanted it to be. But at the same time, he reminds everyone that he campaigned for Trump, spoke at the Republican National Convention, and backed him without hesitation. If you truly don't understand someone's movement, if you believe it's just whatever that person says it is, then why would you throw your full support behind it? Tucker Carlson could argue that he believed Trump was simply the lesser of two evils compared to Kamala Harris. Plenty of people make those kinds of political choices. Even on the left, many people weren't thrilled with Kamala Harris. Speaking for myself, she was never my first choice either, but I still believe she would have been a better president than Donald Trump, and I think we're seeing that play out now. To Tucker Carlson's credit, he does admit that he got it wrong. But you can't honestly say, I never understood any of this, while also saying, I completely supported it. Those two claims just don't fit together. If 2024 had been Donald Trump's first time running for president, I could understand why some people, even someone like Tucker Carlson, might have been fooled. But we already had 4 years of Trump's first presidency from 2016 to 2020, followed by another 4 years of watching him outside the White House from 2020 to 2024. By then, anyone paying attention had more than enough evidence to see exactly who Donald Trump is. He's a con man and a habitual liar. Tucker Carlson talks about how our leaders constantly lie, but Donald Trump has built his entire political career around lying. So the real question is, what explains Tucker Carlson's behavior? Is this nothing more than another grift? Has he decided Trump is finished, and now he's jumping onto the next political train before everyone else does? Or is he actually fooled? Did he honestly believe Donald Trump was the anti-war candidate and the president of peace? Because everything we've seen suggests the exact opposite. Trump has repeatedly shown that he embraces conflict and uses violent rhetoric whenever it suits him. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Do you believe Tucker Carlson is being sincere? Was he genuinely misled by Donald Trump? Or is this all just another calculated grift? I've said it before, I find a MAGA civil war fascinating because they're turning on each other in ways nobody expected. But I also see people pointing to Tucker Carlson now and saying, see, he agrees with us on some things. I don't buy that at all. I still believe Tucker Carlson is an opportunist, a grifter, and someone who often crosses the line into saying things that are simply bizarre. When he starts claiming that the President of the United States was hypnotized and says he personally knows people who have been hypnotized, that's not a serious explanation. It sounds like an excuse designed to shift responsibility away from Donald Trump. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'm Chris on Culture, and I'll see you in the next one.